Yeah, no, like I said, it was an interesting one, but it shows in football how quickly it can, change. I mean, Steven Gerrard was building, and I say building because, stopping 10 in a row was his main job, to come in and to stop that. He managed to stop that. So I think the next challenge was about winning more trophies, and really showing that you can back things up. Keep the team motivated, hungry, and go and dominate and win another title and try to add the cups, because, again, been a little bit disappointing there. So look, I think everybody feels a little bit disappointed, because a manager leaving sort of like 3 months into the season. Look, it's never great. I think there's also a lot of people out there that kind of understand the industry, and the way that football works. And look, this has been pushed through because it's actually... it's probably worked for all parties. So Rangers would have made sure that they got their compensation, they got the right amount of money, and they've got to dust themselves down and move on. There's no person, there's no player bigger than any football club. For myself personally, I thank Steven Gerrard for the job that he done at Rangers, and wish him all the very best at Aston Villa. I'm looking at his first 5 games. And I'm seeing Brighton, Palace, City, Leicester, and Liverpool. So good luck with that. But it's football, Rob. And for me, it's more important about now moving forward who that next person is that comes in, hitting the ground running, winning more trophies.
Leanne, do you think that he's been looking for this opportunity for a while, or do you think it just came along last Sunday when Dean Smith was sacked? And he suddenly thought, well, they obviously thought he's the man for us, and he thought, that's the club for me.
Yeah, I think it could be simple as that, Rob. That you said a focus. You signed that, I think, new contract end of last season, was it, or middle of last season? I think his heart was in the Rangers job, and that he was happy. I know we played out that soundbite earlier on of saying that I look happy, don't ask silly questions. I think football's a funny thing at times, and it waits for no one, and I think not too often in your career you'll find a crossroads where you need to make big decisions, and ones that you need to really weigh up the pros and cons to. And I don't think it's been as easy a decision. I think Steven Gerrard might have had wind of it before yesterday or the last 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever. I think he might have known it was coming. There would have been a conversation before any clubs made that really a public conversation. But is it probably the best case scenario for him? I think so, because I think what Steven Gerrard needs to do now is, if he really wants to get the Liverpool job at some point, which I'm not convinced that he needs to do that now. I don't think that's the sole focus of his ambition. He just needs to probably try and not do anything wrong if he wants to get the Liverpool job. So what he's been given now is a club that I think he's maybe got a slight emotional affiliation to. I know Gerard Houllier was a mentor of Gerrard's. He managed there. Gary McAllister's been there before. There's other people working within the club that he knows and he's worked with previously. So I think for him it's maybe, if you're going to go anywhere, this is where you would go. They're the 5th richest club in England just now. He's got the potential to go and drive them into that top half of the table this season, which is more than achievable when you look at that division. The lure of the budget, I think you said, Joe, as well, limited resources is what he's worked with in Scotland. Well, he won't have limited resources now, will he? And that'll be a bigger gauge, I think, for how good Steven Gerrard is as a manager and a coach, because sometimes it's better having limited resources and having to get the best out of players. But what you've now got is the pressure to go and spend maybe 40 million, bring a player in. You've got to make good decisions with that. You can't blame that on the fact that they're only a 1.5 million player and they've got no experience. What you're investing in them, so it's a big job for him in that sense. But what an opportunity, all the same, to go for the limited resources in Scotland to the multi-million pounds of the Premier League.
Big opportunity, but there are a posse of clubs, aren't there, in England who want to be the next Leicester City, who move up from the pack and into that top 4 and the prospect of qualifying for the European places. There is so much competition in that area. But back to Rangers, Joe. The 3 words that have kept cropping up on this show since we went on air at 5 o'clock are Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Is he the man for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important now at this point for, first and foremost, somebody who comes in and understands Rangers. Obviously, Gio has been there as a player, hasn't he? So I think that gives him, a benefit for the fans if he was appointed. secondly, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that when Gerrard was being recruited, I think Giovanni was on the short list of candidates at that point in time, at the same time as Stephen. So, and let's not forget, I think, he won the Eredivisie, didn't he? I think it was with Feyenoord, with limited resources compared to other teams in the league, such as Ajax. He played quite an attractive brand of football at that point in time. And obviously, again, he went to China, didn't he? And I don't think it quite worked out for him. And I think one of the biggest parts I read around his departure from China was he wanted to be close to home and be close to his family. So that's understandable, and probably that's similar, I should imagine, to Steven Gerrard's thinking as well, by the way. But yeah, I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is my number one, to be honest, guys. And then, again, we've got limited resources, haven't we? So we have to be realistic in who we can attract. It's a shame that, Michael Beale has joined Steven Gerrard straight away, or Gary Mack. I think they may have been potentially decent candidates. But, I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would be my number one personally, just because of his philosophy towards football. He's proven that he can do it at domestic level in Holland, which isn't an easy league. And he knows the club. So he'd be my number one. Dean Smith, if he was up for a bit of a challenge, obviously it would be a big step down, I should imagine, even in salary and resources. And, whether or not he wants to take a long break from the game.
Joe, can I ask you a question? Joe, sorry to cut. Can I ask you a question, mate? Listen, for example, Steven Gerrard was always mentioned that he's going to come in and do a job at Rangers, which he has done. He's going to move.
Yeah.
The next manager comes in. Say it's Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. If he comes in and the language out there is it's to come in to do a job at Rangers to then go to the Premier League. How do you feel about that? Or are the supporters looking for someone that actually just comes in and says, "No, I love this club. I want to be the manager of this football club, and I want to be successful at this football club."
Yeah, it's a good question, Craig. And I think ultimately all the fans care about really is picking somebody, whether they're here 18 months, 2 years, who will keep us at the top of Scottish football. And I think, there's other names out there, isn't there? Obviously, Steven Gerrard, when he joined, was unproven, really, at elite management level. He was coaching within the Liverpool youth ranks, wasn't he? But I take someone like Frank Lampard, Craig, to be honest with you, who comes in, he's wanted to cut his teeth in management. I think he did a decent job at Chelsea. Obviously, within Chelsea, you're never going to get time. Whereas I think this Rangers board, they gave Steven Gerrard, 3.5 years, pretty much 2 years of building and trimming down the squad, bringing in a better caliber of player. Yeah. And I think if we were able to attract maybe a Frank Lampard or even a John Terry, you're actually able to kind of excite players or attract good quality players, which Steven Gerrard did. Yeah. And I'm not sure, in all honesty, Gio would have that same pull of a player who maybe, would choose Rangers maybe over a lower league, Premier League, or even a high championship.
Joe, I'm going to have to cut you off right there. We could talk with you all night. We've had a good crack at talking with you all night. Good to have you on the show, and hopefully hear from you again soon.
Cheers, Joe.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers,
all
Joe.
the best. That's Joe in Cardiff.